Now we'll move on to Grot's Wunda chair. We'll start on the front face, and then we'll turn the chair around so we can look at the eye bolts at the end. And so the first thing that we'll do is to just take a general look at the chair, the upholstery condition, the pedal, and the wood to make sure that there aren't any like pieces of wood that might splinter a client or anything like that. And this chair looks fine. And we'll take a rag and our 3-in-1 oil, and we'll lubricate the hinge, clean and lubricate the hinge. So first I'll take the rag and wipe it down to clean it up. And then we'll lubricate the hinge. So if you look at the hinge, this is a piano hinge, and there are different openings in the hinge. And so as I move the pedal back and forth, you'll see that certain openings open while others close, and back and forth. So what we want to do is lubricate the piece of metal that runs between that hinge. So we'll take the 3-in-1 oil and a rag to make sure that we catch any excess oil, and we'll actually just put the oil in each one of the openings of the hinge, moving all the way along. And then we'll push the pedal in the other direction so that we can open the other set of hinges. And then we'll just lubricate those. And then you'll remove any excess oil. And then pump the pedal a few times to make sure that the lubricant goes inside the hinge. And that's it as far as lubricating the hinge. You also just want to take a general look at the attachment screws or bolts on the hinge to make sure that they're tight and that the pedal doesn't move back and forth, or the hinge doesn't move back and forth as you move the pedal. Since we're on the front face, we'll take a look at the eye bolts that attach the springs to the pedal. You want to make sure that they're vertical and tight, so you just put a couple of fingers on them to make sure that they're tight. And then I also prefer to have the opening of the spring facing out, so clients' pants don't get caught on it. So if you take a look at these springs, you'll see that the opening is facing out. And so that's that for the front. And now we'll turn the chair around so that we can take a look at the eye bolts that attach the spring to the chair. So now we'll take a look at the eye bolts that attach the spring to the chair. And what you'll need to adjust, if needed, these eye bolts are a screwdriver and a 1/2-inch crescent wrench. And basically you want the angle of the opening of the eye bolt to be facing the pedal and at about 45 degrees. And this one was a little shallow. This one looks okay. And then this top one, you want it to be a little bit steeper than 45 degrees, maybe even 60 degrees. And so that will let you move the spring on and off with ease. And so now that we're back here, we'll look at the springs also. You want to push down on the pedal so that you can look at the spring to see if there are any obvious defects. And so we'll push down. And you want to make sure that the coils of the spring separate evenly and that the openings don't show any sign of warping or anything like that. And so that's that. The other thing, one thing to note is that if you look at the spring, in order for a spring to stop, or for the manufacturer to stop, there's this extra little lip on the spring. Can you see that? And so if the opening of the spring hook and that little extra lip are in the same direction, the opening of the spring is much smaller than if you just rotated the spring and tried to put it on the hook that way. So if you're having trouble putting the spring on, even with the hooks in this position, just rotate the spring a little bit and then put it on that way. And I guarantee you it'll go on much easier. So if while you're adjusting your eye bolts for the proper direction, you find that they're loose, you can always tighten them using your 1/2-inch crescent wrench and your screwdriver. I put my screwdriver in the opening of the eye bolt and then use the crescent wrench to tighten the outside nut. And as you do that, you just want to make sure that the direction of the eye bolt stays the same way that we just talked about. And you can do that for the 3 on this side and also for the 3 on the other side. And so that's it for the Wunda chair.